Welcome, folks. This is Gary Gunn. Welcome to Showcase. And I've got a great friend that I've had for many, many years in this industry, and his name is Brian Gillis. I'm not going to give you all of his accolades and who he is and what he's all about. He's going to do that. But in honor of him, I've got my UNet Results hat on this morning. So if you're looking for a full line coaching company, there's no better guy than Brian Gillis. I've seen him in action. I've been to his meetings. Man, we've done service advisor training together, and he's the real deal. So, Brian, why don't you tell the folks listening to this audio about who you are and a little bit of background, so if they don't know, they'll know a little bit more.
Sure. And thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me on. Okay. So, wow. So I've been in the industry now, I guess, going on 26 years, 27 years, maybe. And I was fortunate to latch onto a great company in my early 20s here in Houston, Texas, where I'm back now living. We ended up going to work for a fellow named Todd Hayes and Greg Sands with a company called Mobile Car Care. And the company was a performance-based company. And that was very appealing to me, that I could go in, and it really wasn't about seniority or tenure. It was really a bit more about how effective you were at operating a shop and how successful you were with being able to pretty much drive sales, manage the team, and so forth. And so very quickly, I was promoted within 1 year. I think I was 23 or 24 when I started. Within 1 year, I was promoted to running my own location. Had a lot of success. There was a little bit of a struggle there at one particular point in time because I had lost a very, very good technician who had a confrontation with one of our multi-unit guys. And although I tried to prevent it from happening, this guy took it upon himself to get into a pretty good argument with one of our technicians. And that's the first time I realized the impact of being able to hire your people and the importance of staffing. But that was something at that time I didn't have experience in. So I did get banged back down to assistant manager. That would happen. But within another 12 months, I was promoted again to get my own location with my lesson, of course, learned. Had a lot of success. In fact, they put me, at the time we had 15 or so locations in the Houston market. They would put me at different locations, and I'd get the numbers up, our margins strong, fully staffed, and then they put me at another one. And after a little while, I was like, "Hey guys, I'm pretty happy. Quit moving me around. We're having some success here." And so then at the age of 26, I got promoted to the recruiter and trainer, which was a great position. Got to work directly with the big guys, the top leaders of the company, and there was no regional manager in between myself and the CEO or our COO at the time. And so really enjoyed that. Had an opportunity with part of my recruiting, had branched off into some other marketplaces besides Houston. I was working in Atlanta and staffing up, getting ready to staff up some locations that we had out there and fix some issues through hiring and recruiting. That's when I got to work directly with Greg Sands, and he felt like I would be a good fit to run his Atlanta market. At the time, we had 5 locations. All 5 of the stores in the Atlanta market were losing money. In fact, they had lost about $375,000 the 12 months prior.
That's a big number, man. That's a big number.
It's very upsetting. But so about, the 12 months prior to Greg and I getting there, and then within the first 12 months of me coming in there and Greg being there, we had a net profit of $375,000. So $750,000 swing. We averaged a 62% gross profit year round on the 5 stores. and then it was just off to the races. We grew a very large company. We grew a company to be worth over $100 million. I was with Sands in totality for just about 20 years. In fact, I only missed it by a couple of months. But we had a lot of success. We grew, like I said, we launched an advertising company called Mudlick Mail, which is now Upswell. And we grew. We grew into several marketplaces. Of course, Houston, Atlanta. We were in Florida, Tennessee, Arizona, Colorado. And so we were just growing. And so at the time when I resigned, I was the vice president of SR Sanco, one of them. And, one of the cool things that the direct mail company offered me the opportunity to do was get to work directly with shop owners, which was something that, previously I'm just running shops, right? I'm doing my deal and, hitting my margins and beating last year's sales and growing our market share at our locations that I was responsible for and over. But then I had the opportunity to do some things with Mudlick Mail. Occasionally, shop owners would have concerns or struggles, and they would turn me on to helping them and addressing their concerns. I had the opportunity, Gary, when you had your coaching company turnaround tour, to come out and work with you. And, at the end of the day, I fell in love with it. It was way more meaningful to me to help somebody turn their business around, get profitable, get staffed, boost up their market share, than, selling brake jobs and timing belts. And so I had a real true passion to do that. And so here I am today. You fast forward, and that experience has allowed me and put me in a position to where now I can do that full time. And it's very, very rewarding, and I enjoy it. That's what we do. So, that's a little bit about me and my background. I think at the most locations at one time that I was over was in the high teens, potentially 20, but oftentimes lended a helping hand to other markets, just coming in training or helping with recruiting and getting staffed and things of that nature. So, yeah.
Well, man, that background, Brian, sets us up perfectly for what we're going to talk about, the 3 Ps. The first P is people, the second P is process, and the third P is profit. And you kind of touched on every one of those through your background. So what we're looking for, if you would, is share 2 or 3 just golden nuggets about what you learned that someone you would say, hey, you better listen to this. This is something you need to know about people. So give us those nuggets.
Okay. Well, in regards to people, being in a position as we're, of course, growing, and we had several locations, but even if you're just a single store operator, maybe you have 2 locations, one of the things that I even struggled with at the beginning was when to cut somebody loose, how long to keep them, when to know that you've kept them for too long or they're not a good fit for your business. And that's very difficult. And so what I used to look at is the 3 reasons why people would fail. And what it breaks down to is they don't know, or they don't care, or they can't do. When you stop and think about it, there's really nothing else that can get in the way. And so I always felt like it was my responsibility to ensure that it was never a don't know issue. And so that, you accomplish that, of course, through training, Gary. And so we focus really hard on training. Once I could establish that they knew and they understood and they demonstrated that they understood, then it really falls back to they can't do it or they don't care. Both of which, neither one of those is acceptable. And so by rationalizing it like that, it became easier for me, and it wasn't a personal issue, but it became easier for me to know when it was time to cut somebody loose or look for an upgrade or look for a replacement, was when they know the information, but yet they can't perform it. And, we used a lot of sports analogies, especially with people, Gary. So you think of yourself like an NBA basketball coach, and you think about the the can't do, so if you got your 4-foot guy that's trying out for your NBA professional basketball team, no matter how hard they work and how hard they try, that 4-foot individual may not be able to compete in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so those are the toughest, when they have the heart, the desire, but they can't do it. But when you recognize and see that, it's time to move forward. And the other ones, they don't care, and that's something that is also unacceptable. They can do it. They have the ability,
Sure.
They're 7 foot, but they're not putting forth the effort and the energy or trying or having passion, which of course are items that you can't teach or train on. These are things that somebody has to have it or they don't have it. If they either they care or they don't care. You can't teach and train that, right?
No.
And so and so those are the things that I would look for. So that's one of the things, Gary, is looking at the 3 reasons why people fail, knowing when to cut somebody, and being able to measure that, and ensuring, of course, that also puts it back on me to ensure that the training's taking place. Another big thing that I realized is there's so many pieces to being successful. There is no one single magic bullet. The key is all of these things put together, then you can have massive results, but it's all of the things put together. There's no real one magic bullet. And so you can't discount a shortcut, one piece of the method, one piece of the process. All those systems have to be dialed in and executed to hit, to really do well. And our stores did great. I mean, we had a lot of success. In fact, I think, from what I know, we were one of the most successful independent chains in the country at the time. And so, and that's some stuff there on the people side, that I wanted to share with you.
And one other thing we want to talk about processes, and really we've talked about this before, Brian. These 3 Ps, they really they blend together. There's no way you can separate one from the other.
Right.
So in essence, now we're into process, and in order to have multiple stores that you had across many states, you better have a process. And the people are willing to follow the process, right?
100%, Gary.
And now if you have that one store, what we hear from so many people, Brian, is that, man, I want to own it, but I don't want to be tied to it every day.
Right.
So the same processes that ran those multiple locations would run that business, so the owner could actually own the business instead of the business own them.
And you're right. Having processes and systems in place is mission critical. But what I found out is that's only half the battle. You can do a great job of writing SOPs, getting them out to your people, having a process and a procedure and a system for everything, all the way down to making coffee in the morning, right? And how we close the shop and how we present repair work, how we answer the phones, and all of those are great. But what separates an average manager to be different between a great manager is follow-up, inspecting what you expect. And so that's something that I stayed focused on. For example, you talk about processes, we use what's called a workflow board. And this is how we would manage our workflow. And it would just ensure that, who's on the ticket as an advisor, customer's name, are we doing things such as collecting email addresses if that's something that, was important at the time, which for us it was, because we would use that, of course, as marketing. The year, make, model of the vehicle, what the concern was the customer brought it in for. There's indicators that the parts have been ordered and from where, when they've arrived. We focused on a full system isolate. We wanted to do a maintenance inspection on 100% of the vehicles. We would track hours, and we would track our sales, with the idea being that the maintenance inspection portions of our sales were greater than basically the isolation, which is, what the customer came in for. And so we use this workflow board in effort to run our shop. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is a great tool, but then the follow-up, right? So that would allow me now, because, I had locations in Atlanta, locations in Denver, and I can't be at two places at one time, or even if I spend a full day at every location, every day we're open, I wouldn't have enough, be able to stretch myself thin enough to be at every location. And so what I had to do was follow up, right? And so in regards to the board, I could look at our board from a certain day's business. Maybe it was a week ago, and then all of the invoices would be inside of there. And so I could go through ticket by ticket along with the store manager, and we could do what we call a bag audit. And we would go through and we would look for opportunity, opportunity that may have been missed. We're looking for proper documentation. We're looking to ensure that we're doing maintenance inspections on every vehicle, that we're selling our isolates in a full system process, that we're utilizing scripts, and that we're, our margins are where they need to be. And so again, these are all these little things, but when you put them all together, you get some, like I said, some pretty massive results. And so I think that's another key thing, Gary, is not just having processes and systems, but how do you go about ensuring that they're taking place? You have to you got to celebrate the wins. If somebody's doing a great job every day, but it doesn't get recognized, why keep doing it as much, right? Or you're going to catch opportunities that someone may not be aware of. And then that becomes your fault because you didn't teach and train on that topic that could have helped, take that shop or that location maybe to the next level. So that's, definitely. So
Brian, here's a question I have for you. If someone's listening to this call and they say, man, I don't have a workflow board, I don't understand what Brian's talking about.
Sure.
Where can they get one of these? What can they do? Can they reach out to you? Can they contact you direct? How's the best way to get that magic started in their shop with your expertise?
Sure. Yeah, they could contact me. I've got a digital board that I could get in their hand. They could take to their printer. They could also, some of the marketing companies out there, such as Upswell, for example, will print you booklets of boards, which is very important. A piece, so that's how they can get them. It's basic. It's a sheet of paper, but what it allows you to do, Gary, is it allows you to be proactive instead of reactive. There's so many different ways, and then after using that board for a year, 2-3 years, you're gonna be a workflow expert, right? And so that's the key, is having everything systematic up here, but there's different ways our minds takes in information. And so getting it verbally versus writing it down is two different methods. And so as you're writing these things down and you're doing your team huddles consistently throughout the day and utilizing the board as a huddle point where we all come together and we talk about every single vehicle, where they are in the process. And that again allows us to be proactive. And so it's, hey, let's follow up with this vendor and see where these brake calipers are we've been waiting on. Hey, do me a favor and let's give Mr. Jones an update on their vehicle. And so that we're being proactive, because if your phones are ringing and customers are going, hey, I just want to know what's going on with my car, then you're not being proactive. Now you're being reactive. So, and we know that
my point was not to ask you how it works.
Sure.
And they can buy boards, they can buy pieces of paper.
Right.
But if they don't know how to operate that board properly and all the little pieces that go into it, right? where can they contact you? At
Yeah,
your
I mean,
website? Can they contact you through your
sure,
email? Just
absolutely.
let's tell them what
Both,
they can do. Yep.
both. My phone number is also on my website. You can call me directly. My website is unetresults.com. And there's a great deal of information in there. But certainly my contact information is there. And yeah, I could help you get set up on the board. I could help you implement this workflow tool and teach you how to
Yeah.
use it. Absolutely.
And another good thing I saw on your website was where they can book an appointment with you to have a conversation.
Yeah, I do
And
free.
what do you call that?
Well, that's a free strategy session, which is
Okay.
important because one of the benefits of my multi-unit experience, and by the way, well, the multi-unit, because not all these shops are the same size, the same shape, or in the same demographics. And so it's not always going to be one size fits all. And so it's important to do that strategy session to see what it is within your organization that where there could be some opportunity for growth or improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
So
we
go
do.
to the website, click that strategy session, get an appointment with Brian Gillis, and you can multi-discuss some things so Brian can guide you in the direction that you feel you need to go, and those opportunities are out there.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go to the third P, Brian.
Okay.
And it's called profits. That's those dollar signs, right?
Right.
So if we don't make a profit, gross without net is gross.
Right.
Yeah. I was taught that a long time ago by some of your friends. So you can have gross sales all day long, but if you have no profit, man, the gross is no good. So what are a couple of things you've done in the past to assure that you're getting the margins you need to get the net you need?
Sure. Well, that comes with having these processes and systems in place to avoid, not falling into that trap of not making money or even worse, losing money.
Yeah.
And so, you've got to, first and foremost, you have to have a clear understanding of your numbers. You need to understand how P&Ls work. You have to understand what it means to make a gross profit. And so, of course, learning that is very important. Where do these numbers go? And then having processes in place to ensure that you're going to hit your margins is important. For example, we would audit it before we present repair work. We would audit the ticket, PARP, prepare, audit, rehearse, and then present. Right, and that's something I learned from you, Gary, which is a great tool. But we were doing it. We didn't call it PARP, but that's what we call it today. But it gives you that chance to look at your ticket and see what your margins are. You almost have to treat every repair ticket like it's its own itty bitty P&L or profit and loss statement. And so
it is,
and they all add up.
That's a great way to a visual and a mental of what's really there. Each car is that, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So during the the 20 years I was with Greg Sands, for 8 of those years we were partners on 2 locations. And then he bought me out and I went back to multi-unit for him. But I'll tell you, one of the key things on our P&Ls is that when I would turn them in for my shops, generally speaking, I'd be within $5 or $10 of what we submitted. We would print in terms of gross profit to what we actually would do on the P&L. And that's through knowing your numbers throughout the actual course of the month, right? So you're weekly tabulating your total expenses that you have with these vendors, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, CarQuest, Napa, your purchasing parts. And we keep it in an accordion style file, the alphabet one. And, so obviously CarQuest would be under C, for example. And at the end of the week, I would run 2 tapes on each vendor. So I would know my total. Then I could look at what I spent on parts compared to and then go to my point of sale system and see what I sold in parts and instantly find out what my margins were. And in every payroll, you do the same thing with your labor. Those are the main two big ones.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that it's not like it's the month ends and your P&L, you get your P&L from your CPA 15, 20 days later, and it's this surprise.
Yeah.
You should know going in what you're going to print. And you can do it. You can do it as much as daily if you really want to go deep. And so we get into the last week of the month at either one of the two stores I was running, and I would know what my threshold was in terms of give and take. And what I mean by that is, we had a particular goal back then. It was hitting a 60% GP, and I wouldn't be satisfied turning in anything less. Even as a partner with Greg, I still felt obligated to hit these margins. And so there was a lot of focus on that. And if you're really good, you'll know where you are throughout the course of the month. And if you have some making up to do, if you're trending in the wrong direction, or if you have a cushion, so to speak, to where you can make a few deals with customers in effort to make sure you capture every sale, and still yet be able to turn in the desired margins that you have for your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll tell you what, anybody that listens to this call and grabs all those 3P opportunities that you just handed them, will benefit from it. So Brian, I thank you for being here today in Showcase. And again, I'm wearing that UNet Results hat in honor of my friend Brian Gillis. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull the curtain down to this one. And we're going to ask you one more thing. I surprised a couple of guys last week when I did this interview. Said, what's the parting word? What's one thing you want to tell somebody in a real short period of time?
Ooh, okay. The parting word.
It may not even be with the 3Ps. It might, it just might be something that you say, oh, I want them to know this.
Wow. Okay.
This is the bonus. See, this is the bonus.
Okay. All right. So for the bonus, all right. I would just say that we didn't really get into this, but I mean, it actually has to do with people.
Okay.
I think the biggest struggle I see right now out there with auto shops is staffing. Staffing is one of the things that can not only impact your, because there's only two ways we can increase our sales, right? Car count or making the cars count. Staffing impacts both of those. And where I see shops run into a pitfall is when they're not sufficiently staffed. Okay. Or they're one person away from everything crumbling down and being unable to execute and provide a high level of customer service. And so I would say, as my parting words, is be ultra focused on your staffing. Always have somebody that you're consistently talking to, even when you're staffed, because you never know when something's going to come about. We call that bench strength, by the way. Have bench strength. Yeah. You always want to be recruiting. You always want to be prepared for things that could potentially happen unexpectedly, because if it's too late and something happens, say a valuable front counter advisor has to move because their husband or their wife got a job somewhere else. Or they have a family emergency. Now they have to leave the state. Then you make a panic rushed hire. That's
you get a body. You want to put a body in place.
Right. And so, that's again being way proactive, but it's key to being proactive in regards to staffing. And I know it's today's world, it's even tougher. And so the best thing you can do is, once you're staffed, keep recruiting, stay on point, never stop recruiting.
You're always looking for talent, just like any sports team. A basketball team's always looking for talent. They're always looking for passion. They're always looking for somebody that wants to do the right thing. That's what you're looking for.
Correct. And you You might just find yourself in a situation where you find somebody, you don't need anybody, but you found somebody, you're going, I can't let this person slip through my fingers.
Right. Right.
That's a tough problem to have, right? That's a great problem to have, actually. And so,
Yeah.
but it's not going to happen if you don't always have your eyes open and you're always recruiting.
Just want to let you know, folks, we're going to do some more interviews. Brian Gillis is the guy. He's the real deal. So catch him on the YouTube channel, check his website, get a hold of Brian and have a conversation with him and see if there's an opportunity that you're missing in your business that he can assist you with. Thank you all very much for listening and watching this fantastic interview with Brian.